Hi everyone, welcome. Welcome to Dignity Health Sports Park. We're so happy that you're here. I'm Tom Braun. I'm the President of Business Operations and Chief Operating Officer for the LA Galaxy. We're happy you're here. We're really excited to host you today for a global view on mental health, a conversation about cultural perspectives on mental health as an athlete. A big welcome to the LA Galaxy Academy student and athletes. Another big welcome to the Carson High School student and athletes. Really happy that you all made it out. And also a big welcome to the LA Galaxy staff and AEG staff who are here in person and also on the live stream. So last year we did a similar conversation. We called it Focus and Flow. It's the mental preparation as an athlete. The conversation was centered around equipping you with practical resources, examples and ways to care and train for your mind when it comes to sports. Today we get to continue that conversation further. But before we bring up the guests, I just want to say a couple thank yous. First, to the LA Galaxy Foundation, led by Gabe, Mariah, and Felicia. So part of the foundation's mission statement is using soccer as a vehicle for positive change. This event highlights that along with the pillar of promoting health and wellness. So appreciate the foundation for putting this together. Secondly, I want to thank the global partnership team at AEG. And lastly, just to the operations, broadcasting, and the Dignity Health Sports Park AEG team for setting all this up. It takes a lot of effort to put this together, so really thankful for their support on this. Also want to take a moment to thank our sponsors, the LA County Department of Mental Health, Dignity Health, and Purina. We're excited to collaborate with you on this important topic. And then finally, our panel today hosted by LA Galaxy legend Kobe Jones. He's going to be joined by LA Galaxy captain and defender Maya Yoshida, LA Galaxy forward Miguel Berry, and from the LA County Department of Mental Health, Monica Reyes. So without further delay, I want to bring up Kobe Jones.
Thank you, Tom. First off, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here today and for everybody that's watching. It's a very important topic. You know, as we've seen the views on mental health change over the years, you know, everybody at some point has some type of experience with certain issues. It could be an extreme situation or it could be minor, but it's all worth addressing at time. And for all of you, especially the young people here today, there will be moments, you know, if it's not here, but within life where you will have to address these issues. So I hope today with the conversation that you all be able to take out something that you learn here today that can help you, you know, in the future. Everyone here is giving their time and their effort to try to make sure that there's an understanding here that there's a betterment for everybody that's watching this. And I'd like to thank, you know, the various people that will be on the panel today, to thank everyone at the LA Galaxy and AEG, the variety of people that have allowed us to put this event together, because it is, as I said, it is a worthwhile topic. Now, without further ado, I'd like to start off by introducing our panelists. You know, first of all, I'd like Maya Yoshida to join us today. Defender for the LA Galaxy. And yes, here. And if you just take a minute to introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hello guys, I'm Maya Yoshida, defender from LA Galaxy, and I used to play a long time in Japan national team, so hopefully I'm a little bit older than you guys, so hopefully I can give some tip for mental health through my soccer career and through this conversation. Yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce forward Miguel Berry.
Hi, how you guys doing? Appreciate you guys coming out. Like you said, my name is Miguel Berry Forward. I was born in Spain. I grew up there for 8 years, and then I moved to San Diego when I was 8, so I got a little bit of both backgrounds there. I'm much younger than Maya, so hopefully, you know, I'll maybe be closer in age to you guys, so I can connect more with you guys. But I'm, you know, really happy you guys made it out, and hopefully we can make a difference in your lives today. So,
Thank you. Miguel, I appreciate that. And lastly, I'm going to look at my notes on this one because she's so acclaimed. I would like to introduce Monica Reyes. She is a psychiatric social worker and a licensed clinical social worker who has been working for the LA County Department of Mental Health since 2009. She attended California State University of Los Angeles, where she received a master's degree in social work. She has extensive experience with systems involving youth and their families, and currently works under the prevention unit with school-based community access point. Thank you.
Excuse me. So thank you so much for that introduction. It is great to be here with you all today. I think this is a very important topic, and I'm glad that, Galaxy felt the same, and, that's why we're here today to have the conversation on mental health and how important it is. So looking forward to a great conversation today.
Well, thank you. And first off, I want to start out, just in a broader scheme and just having a little bit of an idea of the cultural perspectives on mental health and how your various cultures have viewed it, over, I would say, maybe a little bit. You're smiling already, Miguel. Maybe a few years earlier than Miguel, but just how it has changed over time, culturally.
Oh, well, Japan is a very stressful country, to be honest. But the time is different now. It's more social media, the more like criticize and many things coming up rather than my teenager age. So I think for sure you guys have had more stress, more tough time or difficult time. Very convenient, but same time very difficult. And well, my time was just play soccer and people say something and just ignore. So it's really different now, difficult now. That's my age. Your age?
Well, let me ask you. I mean, that sounds similar. I would say to myself, it was for my time. It was more like, okay, if something's going on and something's happening, it was like, man up, handle it, don't worry about it, don't talk about it. Are you saying it's similar? Where it's just kind of get over it and handle it yourself?
Yeah, exactly the same. Yeah.
And have you seen any changes, Miguel, like for you, a bit younger, in these recent years?
I had a bit more of an old school father, so it was a Hispanic father. I think there's a lot of self-reliance there in that community. So I think there's a lot of kind of solve the problem yourself. But I will say in the last 10 years or so, maybe not when I was in high school, but since when I went to college and after that, I think there has been a huge shift. And I think more athletes being more public about mental health issues. I think we've seen professional athletes in the past, take breaks from playing due to mental health issues or things like that. And I think that kind of thing is become much more common. And I think these problems have existed for a long time. Maybe social media makes them worse. But I think these problems have existed for a long time. I think now we're just seeing more public, people suffering through them and I think more empathy in culture and society. So people are allowed to, be more vocal about their struggles with it.
And Monica, have you seen a variety of different ways of, I guess, cultural views on mental health with all the various people that you've dealt with?
Yeah, so definitely I would say that depending upon where, somebody's culture is, like what background you have, that will kind of depend upon, how they view mental health, right? I know in some cultures, mental health is, viewed as something that is talked about, whereas like you mentioned, like in some countries like Japan, it's kind of like you don't really talk about it. You kind of keep the problem in the home and kind of resolve it there versus seeking outside help. And so that's kind of why we're having, this conversation today to kind of bring awareness that it is okay to talk about mental health. And we want to have these conversations because if we don't, how are we going to get the help, right? And so that's why we want to bring, this awareness. And, no matter what culture you come from, we want to let you know that it is okay to talk about mental health, and it's very important to talk about it.
Okay, and with talking about it, and I think that we have an understanding that most people will have these issues or something that will affect them in some way at some point in their life. Have you seen coping techniques, like different ways of handling it? Have you had ways specific to your culture that you've handled it?
Well, sometimes yes, but sometimes really difficult. Well, last couple of years, like 5-6 years, then of course I started the social media as well for the like my image or my marketing as well. So I have to, not I want to, but I have to. So probably it's different between me and the guys, but well, I got a lot of messages, crazy messages, and you can imagine. For example, the World Cup in Qatar, we beat Germany first game, and full of message, congrats, well done, you were the one, blah blah blah. And second game, if we win, we go through we qualify, and we lost against Costa Rica. And the last one, I make a little bit small mistakes, and from that time, people killing me every day until next game against Spain. And I was so stressed. So sometimes I have to ignore, I have to leave it, my phone, leave it. And some season off also, I just leave the phone, then go to vacation with my family, like 1-2 days. I don't touch any device. And just like we call like social detox. So that's helped me a lot. And I feel really, really good. And I feel like connecting to important my people, my friend, my family, what I need, and just delete or ignore unnecessary things. That's also very important for my mental health, I guess.
How did you come to that realization to just say, I mean, it's difficult, right? To have your phone and just to be able to put that away, because, I mean, phones have become, more than just, communication. It's a computer, it's your email, it's everything. How did you come to that realization going, yeah, this is the right decision for me to get away from it?
Yeah, it is difficult because my phone is not only social media, but I need to communicate. I have to work with the phone because, like, our group chat is every information coming to my group chat.
Right.
So what time we report, what time we training start, tomorrow day off, everything. Yeah. So, well, as you say, it's very difficult to stay away from the devices.
And Miguel, what about for you? I mean, this is difficult for any athlete. I mean, we know about the ups and downs, of an athlete's career. Were there ways when you go through, mental health moments? How would you cope? How would you handle it?
I mean, there were moments in my career where I legitimately couldn't sleep at night. I've been through ups and downs. I've been everywhere, and I think for me, the thing that I learned more than anything was it's similar to like your knee, for example. It's a lot easier to do 5 minutes of prehab than 9 minutes of ACL recovery, or 9 months of ACL recovery. So for me, it's a lot easier to be aware of things and to kind of process things on a day by day, minute by minute basis. So when you're getting messages like that, and you understand what is real in life and what is not real. And people on social media, as real as it seems, it's really not real. What's real is, like Maya says, disconnecting from that and going to the coffee shop and talking with people, spending time with family in person. That's real. Those are real social interactions. Social media is not. It's not as real as it seems. It's not. So for me, that's as soon as I learned to really determine in my life what's real to me and what's not, I gained a lot more control in that regard, and I've been a lot healthier ever since. I sleep a lot better now than I did then. So,
was there a moment that you realized that you had to turn it, that you had to switch it?
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely. I just remember showing up to training 3 days in a row and being like, I've slept maybe 4 hours in the last 3 nights, and just being like, this can't continue. This it just can't. And like, I'm not defined by what I do for money. That's not who I am. And what's really important in life is the people around you and sharing happiness and laughter and things like that. Those are things that are really important in life. And as great it is that what we do for work is fun and it's our passion, it doesn't necessarily define us. So yeah.
Monica, has there been any, I guess, coping tips that you could give so people aren't getting to that breaking point as Miguel's got, where he's just like, you can't sleep at night. I mean, 4 hours in 3 days, man, that's that's tough.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to thank you both for, being very candid and talking about, those experiences. I think that's a really important point, bringing up social media, right? Because we all know that social media is part of our lives, especially, in your age group and your generation. And so, being able to be, self-aware and know when it's time to take a break from social media, I think that's, very important for your mental health. And, sometimes we do need to, take a break and, consider what's in our best overall interest. And so when it comes to coping skills, that also varies across cultures, right? But there are a lot of coping skills out there that, you can use. And like they mentioned, for them, their coping skill was taking that break from social media. Perhaps incorporating mindfulness into, your daily routine. And that can be something as simple as taking a few minutes to practice meditation, or perhaps even, yoga. Meditation goes a long way. So just, incorporating things that are going to be positive for you, and things that, make you happy, spending time with family, spending time with friends, going outside, getting some fresh air, and just kind of, taking a break from whatever it is that's stressing you out, and just kind of regrouping.
Well, when we talk about the coping mechanism for athletes especially, how do you implement that, as we have a lot of athletes here in the audience, in those situations where you're not always going to be winning, that you're going to lose games, that you're not always going to have success, that you're going to have down times, that you're not always going to be the starter, that you're going to be on the bench at times. I mean, these are things that are, basically ups and downs within just whatever you do. How have you been able to cope as things have gone on the negative, within your life, within the game?
Yeah, especially for athletes, it's a lot of up and down. I have like 16 years as a professional, and a lot of up and down. So that's, we need to handle it. That kind of mentality is very important, especially when we are down, as a team and as a player as well. So you guys play football, soccer, so you understand. Sometimes some game you play well, the other game you play really bad. But for me, I'm defender. If I make mistakes, it's gonna be the goal immediately, and then people criticize me a lot. If the more bigger stage and more bigger criticize coming, so you have to handle it, and you have to get used to manage this kind of mentality. For example, defender. If I make a big mistake first 5 minutes, I always think, yeah, I made a mistake, but another 85 minutes is more important. So how I react from first 5 minutes to another 85 minutes is very, very important. And especially coach or scouting. Sorry, this is only about soccer, but you can use for the life as well. First 5 minutes you make a mistake, but another 85 minutes you play really good, then coach just rate you really good, and media and scout. Then you have a big chance to step up. This is a tip. I always play with another partner, center back especially, and he make a mistake, I always tell him, it's another 85 is more important. This kind of mindset is very important to handle mental health, and especially when we are down. That's how I feel. The same as Miguel, I guess.
No, I mean that's very true. I think obviously I'm in the other end of the pitch, but when it comes time to score a goal or anything like that, it's you're not going to score 100% of your chances. You see every single weekend, you see big players miss. And I think it's the same kind of mentality. You immediately have to forget about it and think about the next play. And I think one of the things, talk about coping skills. I think one of the things that's important to remember is that you're always developing new ones, because you're always changing as a person, and some things won't work for you. I've tried loads of things, and some things didn't work, and some things I did find that worked. I've practiced meditation, this and that. I've done yoga, and I think what's important is to always keep trying new things and to keep yourself aware of what your own body needs and what your own mind needs, because not everyone's the same. You know, I'm different from Maya. Maya is different from, you know, the next guy. So I think what's important is that you find something for yourself that works for you, and build off of that, and always keep growing and building off it. It can be something simple, it can be complicated, but you know, what works for us necessarily isn't going to work for everyone else.
No, thank you for sharing that. I want to move on a little bit when we talk about just the word or the words mental health. You know, how culturally is it looked at? You know, is there a stigma attached to it? You know, for myself growing up, I mean, there's a variety of words that we don't use anymore where people would talk about it, and there was definitely a stigma of talking about mental health, and you wouldn't want to talk about it, so you step away. Have you seen that it's gotten better, that there's an ability to talk about it? Is there a stigma still attached to it at this day and age to address any problems? Have you seen situations where you don't want to talk about it because you know you may be stigmatized?
I would say it has gotten better, but I think there's an element in professional sports where people assume money shields you from things, and that's not necessarily true. And I think there's just as many, you know, millionaire NBA players suffer from mental health issues as, you know, the high school basketball players do. And I think that, you know, it's important to remember that while, you know, all people go through the same things and similar things, and no one's going to have a perfect life. I think that while there's the stigma has kind of gone away with mental health. I think panels like this wouldn't have existed 15 years ago, and I think that's a great sign. But I think it's important to remember that, you know, everyone does go through these things, and while, you know, sometimes it's not necessarily advantageous for us to talk about it, because if I say to my coach, hey, listen, I'm having a bad time, maybe he's not going to play me the next game, and I don't want that to happen either. So maybe we're not all the way there yet, but I do think it is growing and evolving.
Have you seen any stigmas over your career of anyone talking about mental health issues and that stigma gets attached to them?
No, not really, because I've been long time in England, and England's the mental health is a very big problem, and the Premier League take care of that part a lot. We always have sports scientists, and we can discuss anytime, anytime, and if you have any issue, then you can go, then you speak, and you feel better. And well, maybe America is the same, but as he said, it's even like you're a big star or just school players. It's a big. Everybody has a stress. Everybody has the problem for this kind of part. And well, to be honest, I don't really feel a lot. I'm more calm, easy man. So I never think about mental health, but yeah, it is a problem now. So yeah, I was lucky a little bit.
Now, are you calm because you're older now and you understand it?
No. My personality. When I was in England, I had also the sports scientist, and he always we often discuss how I control the concentration, and he just taught me, like, you only focus on what you can change. So, like, you play good or you behave good, you prepare for the training very good. That you can affect in the future. But for example, you are late on the training, and LA traffic is horrible. So you are stuck in the motorway. That you cannot change. So I don't think about anything. Like for example, last game we couldn't score, but I'm not striker. Maybe I have opportunity in the set pieces, but I cannot score to dribble like to meet the beat 5 players. So I focus on defensive side and make clean sheet. That's my focus. So that he said, I focus on what I can change. That I don't focus on what I cannot change. That's also another important mindset for me. So maybe you can use it for the training session or school life, everything. And you cannot change a teacher. You cannot change a coach, but you can change your behavior.
That's great. Monica, what have you seen, like, within cultures, the stigmas attached to, you know, just mentioning mental health, you know, with various people, especially within athletes?
Yeah, so that's a great question. You know, there's definitely stigma that, you know, still exists when it comes to talking about mental health. And as mentioned earlier, you know, that all varies depending on the culture. And unfortunately, sometimes when that stigma does exist, that can prevent an athlete from asking for help, right? So we can have somebody that really, truly, you know, needs help, and, you know, they may be suffering inside, and so they're reluctant to ask just because they don't want to be stigmatized. And although, you know, I do think we're making improvements in society, you know, talking more about this, I definitely think there's still, you know, a lot of improvement to be made. But I do think, you know, the fact that a lot of, you know, high-profile athletes have come out and they have, you know, talked about their own mental health, that definitely helps destigmatize things a little bit more. But, you know, the stigma definitely exists, and that's, you know, dependent upon the culture.
And how do you address it? And we talked a little bit about this, and just the understanding of that mental health issues. A lot of the times people will think that it's okay. They'll think of the professional athlete, and they'll think of, okay, when their career's ending, you know, but there's so many different areas. And we look here at the audience that's in front of us. It's the player that maybe doesn't make the high school team, that gets cut, you know, from a team, that doesn't go beyond college, you know, it stops, and is dealing with reinventing yourself in some way. Have there been times that you guys have had those blocks or those hurdles in front of you, being cut from a team or something along those lines, where you've had to find a way to get around it?
I think I don't think you get to this point without having those moments. You know, I think.
But that's important. That's important for everyone to understand. You always have a stumbling block, right?
I mean, there's always going to be something, no matter what, that's going to get. It couldn't even be soccer related. It could be something at home that gets in your way that you have to really, you know, reevaluate and figure out, you know, what you want to do. I mean, for me, when I was 17, I had to leave my academy. My mother had brain cancer, so I had to, you know, leave my academy and go home to take care of her. And I lost a year of academy soccer, you know, at home taking care of my mother. I was playing for the local club team. And, you know, after she passed, I kind of had to make the decision, you know, what do I want to do? Do I want to play? Do I really want to keep pursuing this dream? Or do I want to, you know, start my life somewhere else? And I chose to keep playing and training. And I remember, you know, finishing at 18 and, you know, knowing I was going to go to college and play. And we just lost our last game, and I had teammates crying. And I just remember thinking, well, I'm going to keep playing. So it was fine for me. But I remember just seeing them and thinking, wow, like, this is what it's going to be like for me when it's over. And, you know, that thought of that, not fear, but it's that realization that every minute on the pitch counts for me. And I think for me that's important, and that what gives my life now value is understanding how blessed I am to play this game. And I think, you know, Maya's played, I don't know, 18 years professionally probably, if not more. You played quite a long time professionally as well.
Not that long. Come on, man. I'm not that old.
But no, how long did you play professionally? These kids are 16, 17. You probably played that long, you know?
Yeah. How long?
Imagine your whole life playing professionally. These guys, what they've done is incredible, and that time goes by quick, and not all of us are so lucky to play that long. I've played with players who played 1 year professionally. I played with players who never played professionally, and I think it's important to, if you really love the game you play, to value every second. Because, you know, those stumbling blocks in life are always going to happen, and I think, you know, soccer is a great way to learn through that.
Okay, I need to look at this because I want to ask you a question, Maya, and we talked about this, like you had a calm demeanor, right? You had a calm personality. Now you
Calmer than me, yeah.
But you played in Japan, you played at Southampton, or you played in Holland as well. You played at Sampdoria, you played at Schalke. You know, these are some of the top clubs, you know, around the world, and now you're here at the Galaxy, a top club here within the United States. How is that? This is a little bit different, just as far as talking about the mental issues you have to deal with from going from country to country to country. And sometimes, you know, you're on your own. Sometimes you're with family, and trying to encapsulate all of that and figure out how to balance it out.
Oh, wow. I think the stress is different from every country. Of course, Premier League England is most toughest place and more pressure on. And Holland is more, a little bit more easier because I was young as well. And Italy is totally different. It's very, very different. You can imagine probably. And Germany is very strict. So, yeah, as you said, I was just alone when I was Holland first time when I left Japan since when I was 21. Then since Southampton, when I became 24, I became with my wife, and after that, we handle together good time or bad time. Well, what was the question?
No, how do you handle that? We're talking about mental health, but just
Yeah.
going through those different experiences.
Yeah.
Like I had the experience of going from Los Angeles to
Yeah.
England and Coventry, and I was there by myself, you know, and it was mentally taxing, you
Yeah.
know, because you're trying to adjust to a culture.
Yeah. The beginning was really tough. The Holland, England, we changed the country. I have to adapt to, especially Japan's very different from European lifestyle, not only the soccer. And I couldn't speak any English that time. So a lot of blaming probably I didn't understand that time. And also I was almost first center defender, center half, center back for the Premier League as an Asian player. So it's a lot of criticize, a lot of difficult moment or difficult time I had. But after that, I became like, I can enjoy that kind of different, especially from long time. I have been 7.5 years in England, then go to Italy. Then it's totally broke my mind. Everything is different because I was thinking Premier League is the top and everything's fine. Every footballer have to be like this, that. In Italy, everything changed because, for example, there's a lot of stress. They don't care the food, they don't care the training pitch, they don't care about the facilities, blah blah blah. But they only think about it's not good. The priority is different. What I want to say.
Yeah.
And Germany also different. After that, I was thinking like this kind of stress makes me very strong and more matured. That's why when I got the offer from Galaxy, I was really buzzing. I really enjoyed. I excited to have another experience. I feel like new experience makes me more adult, more like experienced guy. So now I'm happy to try something new. Even the mental health. First time the club asked me to talk about the mental health in front of the young people. I said, "What that? I don't want it." But I'm now enjoying. I like it because I want to hear Miguel's experience, your experience. I want to hear feedback from young boys, and so this is a message like you need to live. You need to live in real life, not social media or fake things. This is because when I was teen, I really enjoyed my high school time. Was really really precious. So only a few years into your life. You can enjoy, you can make true friends. So I would say don't waste your time with fake information.
Yeah, I like that. And speaking of that, that's where we're heading next. And I know we've talked about it quite a bit. It shows how important it is, the social media, side of things and how that affects your generation. But how does it affect the athlete? Now even the professional athlete, all of you, the day and now we heard the stories about you getting messages after the World Cup, and I'm sure you're talking about how it's not real. But when you look at this crowd, I guarantee most of them have a phone on them right now. It's like
who don't have a social media? Yeah, I'm asking young boys.
Yeah. Does everyone have social media out here?
Everybody.
Yeah, everyone. Put your hand up if you have social media. Okay, there we go. That's it. Yeah, it's very different than our time.
I'm scaring for my daughter.
But yes, how do we ask them to handle social media where a lot of the comments are being given from someone that's not even right in front of them? It could be anybody, anywhere. Making that comments. How do you address that? How does it affect you guys as athletes? What would be your recommendation to all of them, besides Maya throwing the phone away?
I think honestly it's probably the best solution. But I think being conscious of what social media is important. You know, again, these the people who make these companies don't really care about you. Hate to break it to you guys. They're just trying to get as much money and data from you as possible. But that being said, their product is still very, you know, consumable. You know, I'm on there, Maya's on there. You know, it's so easy, you know, to be on there and to see things that you enjoy. But it's important to remember that, you know, again, like I said before, it's not necessarily real, and that real human experience is a lot more valuable than any sort of social media experience. And I think, you know, I've had the opportunity to meet people who I've followed on social media, and to actually meet them in real life and what you see on social media, it's incredible. And it really changes your perspective, because it's not the same. You know, there's athletes I've met who I thought, oh, this is a really cool, fun guy. Like he seems, and then you meet him in person, you go, this guy kind of sucks, you know? and you don't realize that you don't really see what real is until, you know, I didn't know Maya until I met him this year, and he does not suck. I'll clarify that. He's actually, you know, one of the better teammates I've had in my career. But you know, those experiences that you have on social media, they're not as valuable as you think they are. No matter how big it seems in the moment, they're really not that valuable. I mean, we've all received bad messages, things like that. But even, you know, comments, even things that you see on there, they don't really mean anything. It's hard to, it's very, very hard to hear that and to say it, because it sounds crazy, because it does seem real, but none of that stuff ever, I mean, I can think back to my time in high school, and like my social media, I can't even remember the stuff on there. And I remember the time things being like big in school, but it's like you go 4 years down the line and you don't even remember that stuff. So I would just, it's hard to just move on from it, but I just wouldn't put any stock into it.
Well say. It's true. I also control my social media time by my phone. I set up like maximum 1 hour per day. So after 1 hour, it's blocked. So I cannot touch anymore. That's I set up on my phone. So 1 hour per day.
You're definitely more technically savvy than I am. I don't even know how to do that. Monica, how have you seen it affect people, you know, social media and the various, you know, issues with social media and affecting people's mental health? You know, and I have a question. Is there a positive side to it that you've seen at all?
I mean, there's definitely pros and cons to everything, right? I know, like, a lot of times we tend to say, like, you know, social media, you know, it's negative, like, don't listen to comments. But, you know, social media can also, you know, do great things, like bring awareness to, you know, certain topics that people, you know, don't know too much about. So there's definitely, you know, it's both good and bad. It's just important to have limits, right? Know your limits. You know, I like that idea about putting a timer. I think that's, you know, a great idea. Just make sure you're limiting your time on social media, and also just, you know, trying to, you know, remind yourself, like, you know, forget all the noise, and just know that, you know, all those comments that are, you know, being said to you, they're not always, you know, real, right? You don't know who's behind that screen. And so just, you know, try to just take things, you know, not too seriously, and, you know, just being mindful of what you're doing on social media.
Good point. Well, let me ask, you know, each one of you if there's anything else that you would like to discuss up here before we get to the question and answers, you know, from the crowd. Is there anything you'd like to address? Maya? No? No? Okay. Well, you know, thank you for the conversation. I think it's been a fantastic discussion. I think, you know, there are some just overall themes that all of you can take out of this, and you know, there's definitely some moments up here that I will remember. I'm going to learn how to, you know, only put an hour on my social media. You know, I think that's extremely important. But just understanding when we talk about, you know, mental health, you know, that it is important, does need to be talked about, and it changes. It changes over time. I think we've seen a definite broadening of that term mental health, and we see the different ways that different cultures have approached it. You know, always, as with anything, you want to take best practices, you know, and see what works for you. But just hopefully you've gotten something out of this that you can apply, to your life, in the future, and apply to the various different programs, activities, relationships that you are all going to have, as you go forward. Are there any questions, from the group? Got questions in the back.
Why are you laughing? Who's that?
The question's going to be
If you could introduce yourself,
Okay.
too, please.
Luis Rodriguez, I'm the coach for the boys soccer at Carson High.
Thank you.
Very good. This question is for Maya or Kobe. What's the best advice for kids with parents going through a divorce? Because I think this is a mental, it will damage the kids. And the second question, Miguel, after they answer me, please, what about drugs? How much will that
How much
affect the
you
kids
take
in their
per
life?
week?
For the divorce question, I can only speak from what I've seen. My parents were together, and I was fortunate with that situation. But I can only imagine that you have any type of family strife. I think that's got to be that has to be an issue. I would say that you've got to find help. You've got to find a way to talk about it and to be able to take your mind off of it. Almost use the sport as a way, to separate and kind of have it. Actually, I think maybe a better response would be for Monica down at the end on this topic.
Yeah, so definitely, divorce is one of those, stressors that can, impact a player's, performance, how their overall mental well-being is. So, I definitely think it's something that, should be addressed. And there's, a lot of support. There's a lot of resources, here in LA County. We are the Department of Mental Health, so there's definitely, resources there if, that person, your student athlete, needs to be referred to counseling. That's definitely an option. And like I said, it's something that, should be addressed, and it can, definitely affect the player, for sure.
Do you want to jump in there?
Wow. Don't divorce then.
Or we could go to Miguel.
I've seen teammates go through breakups, and I know how hard that is on them. So, yeah, that's not easy. But the drug question, I think, is a difficult one because, it's so prevalent today in media and in society. I think, and the pressures are there for these kids and for everyone. And, I can empathize with being a high schooler and seeing what other people are doing and thinking you have to maybe participate in the same activities. But, I urge you guys to be strong and independent, and to understand that decisions you make do have consequences, be they fair or not. They do have consequences, and that you as a person, your life is, you have so much life ahead of you that you don't want to make decisions that you'll look back on in 10 years and realize, hey, maybe I threw this away, that away by making this decision. And it's hard to explain to people who are 16, 17 that their life can change so much with one or two decisions, but it really is true. And that I would just really urge you guys to really take in consideration what you want your life to look like, because a lot of times what you guys have in your head will not come true with things like drugs and things like that provide maybe immediate high and immediate relief and an immediate rush of dopamine, but those kind of things don't last long term. And what really is important in life is having a strong, stable relationship with yourself and with others. And I think drugs is really not the way to go about reaching that.
I'm going to jump on that real quick, and then just to build off of it. And he's not lying at all. And I will do from personal experience. Myself growing up, I was far from the best player, on my teams growing up. But I saw a lot of those better players than me drift off by doing a variety of different things that distracted them from their ultimate goal. And all those players continued to drift off as I continued to improve and get better and better and got to where I wanted to be. You know, so just from anecdotal, personal experience, that's a perfect example of delayed gratification. You have to be able to put some of those things that aren't right, that aren't going to support your cause, put those to the side so that you can go in the direction that you want to. Any other questions? I think there was a question up here in the front. Please, just raise your hand so she can get you the mic.
Will you pass it down?
Okay, I just wanted to ask, how did you learn to balance both your work athletic life with your home and family life and your personal life?
You want to start? I'll give Maya time to think. He's a slow thinker. Like I said earlier, it's something that is constantly evolving. Because who I was at 19 is not who I am today. It's not who I was at 22. It's not who I'll be at 30 or 35. Or how old are you, Maya?
35.
Oh wow. Okay.
36.
So that's always changing, and I think what's important is to have a separation. I think for me, for so long, I was defined by being a soccer player. Was all I did. It's, like Kobe said, you constantly train outside. You turn down other things, and I think for me, one of the things I realized was how important it was to be a person and not just be a soccer player. To be a high school student. To honestly, I wish I paid more attention in school now than I did. I regret not paying attention more, not doing the reading, because I know no one does the reading, right? I regret that stuff, and I think that stuff it seems stupid, but when you go back and you realize what your life looks like, I think it's important to engage in those activities, both outside your sport and inside your sport. But what's important is to put 100% into both. I think you can do that. You can put 100% into your family and your loved ones, and then on the pitch, put 100% of your effort on the pitch, but you can't put 100% of your effort in on the pitch when you're at home. I think the best thing to do is to just live in the moment and focus on one thing at a time, and to maximize everything you do in that regard. Because if you're thinking about the field when you're at home, you're not giving your home 100%. And if you're thinking about what's going on at school on the field, you're not going to be giving your performance in the field 100%. And I think it's important to always give 100% in those things.
Well, wow, it's a difficult question. I'm trying to be very normal and on the pitch, off the pitch, and I try to be Maya Yoshida, not pretend to be superstar in the soccer way than the normal guy in the home, but I'm trying to be always naturally myself, because there's a lot of player who's great as a great soccer player, but not respectful person, to be honest. This is real, but I don't like that kind of player. So I want to be, as a person, respectful man. Then I perform well. Then people respect me. That's my strategy, my philosophy. So you don't have to pretend yourself like big man or superstar. If you do what you need to do, you will be, especially in the soccer way. If you make a good result, good performance, people just decide who you are. But this is not who you are. This is very difficult answer. You understand what I mean? So my message is you don't have to pretend. You are like who you are. So nothing changed, and you don't have to. Okay, if you see the social media, you can see nice bags, nice watches, nice cars the players are having. But I play with, for example, Van Dijk. You know Van Dijk from Liverpool? It's a big star now. But I remember how he is and how he play, but I don't remember what he drive, what he had on his list. It's not important. But important things is who you are and how you behave. That's the most important. And the people remember that part, not the social media part. That's my message for you.
Monica, have you seen a work-life balance be an issue with people that have mental health issues? They can't. Well, you let us know. How does that work out?
So yeah, there can definitely, be that being a student and being an athlete at the same time. I know, sometimes it can be challenging to balance both, but like, you guys mentioned earlier, it's important to just find that balance and not neglect one or the other. And I think most importantly, one of the takeaways is, know who you are off the field, right? Have another identity besides just being, that soccer player or that basketball player. It's important to know who you are outside of the sport, right? Because, the reality sets in, not everybody's going to go on to play professional sports. And so it's important to have, another identity, outside of your sport.
I believe there's another question in the back.
Yeah, hi, my name is Jasmine, and I wanted to ask, how do you cope mentally with injuries and recovery processes?
Who's had the major injury up here? Neither of you? Have you had any injuries?
Yeah, some.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Of course.
how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the injury, where, we know within this game, especially at the professional level, you get injured, you could lose your starting position. You may take you months to come back. How do you go through that cycle through your mind of like, okay, I got to start from scratch right here. I've got to get better. Then I've got to compete to win my spot back. I've got to get off the bench. I've got to get to be a starter. All those things, and even going from starter to injured to bench. All these types of things. I'm sure it's happened to us. Like you said, all of us get here that have gotten to this point. At some point, we've had those injuries.
For me, to get injured is not too bad. It is bad, but it's not too bad. And this is a moment you can do something different from your normal routine. Like basically, we have a every week game, so we have to prepare for the game and not. Sometimes I want to do some specific things or specific training, but I have no time or I shouldn't change my routine, so I don't try. But during the injury period, you can have something special or something new. You can try something new stuff, or you can improve yourself, especially the gym work side as well. Like most of the time, we go to the pitch and play soccer. But the fitness training, we have. Especially I have now, but I'm 35. I cannot do same as Miguel does. Yeah. so
For a lot of reasons. But
so this is I always pick the positive things when I got the negative or down. Then, okay, this is the time for me to improve different things or try different things to learn new things or approach to the another things to improve myself. Then when you come back from injury, you should be the better player or better person. That's my goal for injury.
Miguel?
I've been lucky enough to avoid injury, but when I played for the Columbus Crew, I lived with Aiden Morris, who you guys might not know. He's a young American national team player. He just won MLS Cup, our league title. He was 18. He was like the youngest player to start in the final and win. And his second game of the season, he tore his ACL and was out the whole next season. And I saw that kid go from the top of, like, he was on cloud nine. He was doing interviews with, I think he did like Jimmy Kimmel or something at some point. But I saw him go from the top to being at the bottom. And the way he poured every single moment of every single day, the way he worked his rehab, his things like that, his daily life was so impressive to me that he took all that energy that would go into playing and all that into doing his rehab and then making sure mentally he was right. And he struggled massively with not playing because like everyone, we're defined by what we do. But he got into golf. He got into other things. He found, like Maya said, he found things found ways to really push his energy outside of just being a soccer player. And he came back that next season and was outstanding, and it's been outstanding ever since. And I think it's the kind of thing where I looked at that and I said, this kid is 4 years younger than me, and I'm looking up to him because it was incredible to see what he did. So I think, whether it is rehab or things like that, it's really pouring yourself into that, but also realizing that there's so much more that you can do now with your time, maybe, that obviously it's upsetting not to not play, but like Maya said, you can find things in your life that you like. Maybe you like reading, maybe you like things like that. And I think it's important to always be growing as a person and to view that injury as an opportunity to continue to grow as a person outside of maybe your sport.
Thank you for that, and thank you letting us end this on a positive note. So Monica, thank you very much. Miguel, thank you. Maya, thank you for spending the time with us today. Thank you everyone out there in the audience and everyone watching today. We appreciate it. It's been a wonderful experience, and I hope that you all learned something today with this global view on mental health. Thank you very much. And before we go, I'd like to have everybody in the audience, if you can turn around and face this way for a picture. Everyone up here, we're going to